Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber,
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning and welcome, everybody.
and we wanted to lead with a bit of local news here today, posted by Drive Electric Arizona, which is very active here in the state. Peter Cullen is one of the organizers, and the headline goes something like this: Charge up and join us at the Martin Auto Museum on Sunday, August 11th, for EVs and espresso. The Martin Auto Museum is a local car place that's fairly famous, actually. I was going to leave some of my muscle cars there years ago, but the owner of the museum was out of room at the time, and since then he bought a Fry's store or something much larger
Okay.
out on Thunderbird. But let me read you the rest of this. The museum just acquired a bit of EV automotive history, adding a 2012 Tesla Model S, VIN number 000, lots of zeros, 8, which is a signature car, to its collection. To complement their cars and coffee for classics and supercars, the museum will be reserving space so we can all assemble together and are encouraging all EV makes and models to participate. It'll be this Sunday, the 11th, and we're planning on taking at least one EV to that event. I'll see if the guys want to bring any additional ones. And Mark pointed out something interesting. The attraction here now is, and this may be the first EV that they have at this museum, is a Tesla Model S, Signature 8. Well, Mark pointed out we have Tesla Model S Founders number 3, which is even before the signatures.
Right.
And we're going to ask the owner of that car who's selling it at our EV Preserve whether they would like us to take it to this event to give it some visibility.
That would be pretty incredible if it could be there, or if a couple cars could go and it would be Founders 3,
yeah,
and then Founders 3 or Signature 3 on the Roadster as well.
Yeah. Just we have an image we can pop up here. It's a VIN 8-2. And this particular signature VIN number 8 Model S was actually in our service center 2 weeks ago. And the backstory on it is a wealthy benefactor donated this car to the Peterson Auto Museum. The Peterson Auto Museum then they auctioned it off, and a local customer here bought it. There it is. It's the black, and it turns out that the AC was having issues, so it came to our service center about 2 weeks ago. We changed the compressor, and then the customer had the windows tinted black, put a bit more money in it, and then the this particular museum bought it. The Martin Auto Museum bought it, and we'll find out this Sunday if it's their only EV in this facility, and of course bring one of our own.
I remember I was looking at this car when we had it, and it just had its tint done. And it doesn't matter that it's a 2012. It's a timeless look. It looks so good.
And it was well preserved. It was obviously well taken care of, for a 12-year-old car. You can tell that it wasn't driven very much. The local address for any of you interested is 4320 West Thunderbird Road, Glendale, Arizona, 85306. And it's probably about, what would you say, 8 miles from our facility here?
Yeah, if that. And I was surprised to learn a while back, the Martin Auto Museum is actually one of the better known museums in the Western U.S.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I've been there once, a few years ago with family. Wonderful place.
And the owner, bless his heart, is in his 90s.
Yes.
It's the kind of thing that I think I would like to do. I love cars. A museum would be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be. It would be.
So again, August 11th, this Sunday, opens at 7 a.m., runs until 10 or 11 o'clock, it looks like. And you'll get a chance to see some really cool cars in this facility. We also, by the way, were contracted to come out this last weekend, and one of our engineers went out and disabled the battery in the car to put the owner's the owners of the museum to put his mind at ease regarding potentially any kind of risks associated with the car, which, of course, we being in the EV business know is virtually non-existent. But there's a lot of stuff in the news about cars and catching fire and EVs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there is. We know that the EVs are safer than the gas cars.
Yeah.
It's more likely that the Camaro, the green Camaro sitting behind the Model S would catch fire spontaneously than the Model S would. But that's I totally get it. Let's be safe rather than sorry.
Yeah. All right. One of the other headlines goes like this: Trump on supporting EVs. Elon endorsed me, so I have no choice. In a speech in Atlanta last weekend, apparently Donald Trump expressed his support for electric vehicles, attributing his change in stance to the strong endorsement from Tesla's CEO Elon Musk. Quote, I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon Musk endorsed me very strongly. So I have no choice, he stated. Last month, it turns out Elon announced on X that he supported Trump following the assassination attempt. However, and after several reports, he has denied that he pledged a monthly $45 million donation to the pro-Trump super PAC. And your thoughts on that were?
Right. Trump supporting EVs. Yeah. Personally, I think we're at a tipping point. Government help, well, sure, it'll be nice for the EV industry. Government help, yeah, it'll be nice for the infrastructure. But there's enough people who are buying EVs, who own EVs, and there's enough infrastructure that's been built. I don't think the government help is absolute.
Yeah, I think the early adopter phase is over, and that mass adoption is definitely, we're on that curve right now.
Yeah, we are on that curve. Trump had continued on in some of these remarks and talked about how some place in the Midwest spent $9 billion to install 8 chargers. I don't know if that's true or not. I really have my doubts about that.
There were 8 chargers, I think, installed, he said, and it cost $9 billion.
Yeah.
And boy, I would love to be in the charger business if you're getting that much revenue from those chargers. That's over $1 billion per charging location.
Yeah, we're in the wrong business, obviously, if that's the case.
Yeah. But yeah, he does continue. The quote continues here, and this is Trump talking. They want to go all electric, and there's no way you can ever load them up. They call them loading them. You can't load them. We're going to have to spend $9 trillion, he claimed. Now we're going into the trillions.
Yeah. Okay.
What did you say the whole global GNP was?
The global gross product is about 150 trillion a year, and the U.S. gross domestic product, I think this last year was somewhere around 32 or 33 trillion. Having over a quarter of U.S. GDP have to be required in order to set up infrastructure for EVs. That doesn't sound real.
Yeah, interesting numbers. They say that Trump also criticized the expenditure on charging infrastructure, particularly in the Midwest, and he also criticized electric vehicle mandates and the green energy policies. He labeled the current administration's green initiatives as a scam and pledged to redirect funds toward more traditional infrastructure projects. Now, please bear in mind, we are non-political on this show. I'm not going to, voice my own preferences, but this is EV news, and it's going to affect some things, so it's important to talk about. A continuing quote is, he says, ridiculous and actually incredible waste of taxpayer dollars that is fueling the inflation crisis, Trump declared, referring to the government's investment in green energy. He attributed rising inflation rates to the massive expenditures associated with what he termed the Green New Scam. And he did also reaffirm that in a meeting with top U.S. oil executives in May, he is committed to reversing many of the measures that the Biden administration implemented to combat climate change.
It really sounds completely political to me.
Hmm.
If the oil companies didn't have the deepest pockets, I don't think Trump would be pandering to them nearly as much.
There's an interesting statistic that goes along with this in this particular article. In 2023, electric vehicle sales in the U.S. surged by 40% compared to the previous year, and it reached nearly 1.2 million vehicles, according to data from Cox Automotive. Additionally, the total EV market share in the U.S. increased from 5.9% to 7.6% compared to the previous year. So, like you were saying, it looks like the EV revolution is continuing to grow with or without government help.
I think so. And if you remember last year, it seemed to be all over the press that people were abandoning EVs in droves, that the EV revolution had failed, that EV sales were dropping. And yet when the real numbers come out, they didn't drop. They went up by 40%.
Right. We've got some questions here. Bernard Homan from Mexico. Saludos de Toluca, Mexico. Welcome. Thanks for joining
Welcome.
us. Yeah.
On YouTube, Coolidge is back. He says, "What's up, guys?"
Well, lots of cool stuff that we're going to address in the EV marketplace. TikTok, Everth Bogantes says, hi there. Big fan from Costa Rica. Here, 16% new car sales are EVs. Chinese cars are huge here. We were wondering where all those are getting sold, weren't we?
We have been wondering,
Yeah.
and I did not know that 16% were in Costa Rica. That the 16% rate of adoption, that's pretty high rate of adoption.
Yeah. Thanks for that information, Everth. YouTube, Mike Ramelt says, we will all be driving Chinese EVs powered by Chinese lithium ion batteries charged by Chinese PVCs.
We have an article that talks about that. Do you want to skip forward to that one
Sure.
real quick?
Let's go there. And this one is the headline is U.S. delays special tariffs on China made EVs. The U.S. special tariffs on electric cars were supposed to come into being August 1st. However, it now says it will issue a final determination this month and that the tariff will be effective approximately 2 weeks later. The reason for the delay? Paperwork.
Yeah.
According to the U.S. Office of Trade Representative, USTR is the acronym, it is still reviewing more than 1,100 comments it received regarding the upcoming tariffs. Only after it has reviewed them can it offer its final decision. The modifications will take place approximately 2 weeks later, so they'll probably still apply before the fourth quarter of 2024. Talking about the tariffs now.
Mm-hmm.
Washington announced at the end of May that it would quadruple tariffs on electric cars imported from China, raising them from 25% to 100%. It also increased import duties for other products from China, including lithium-ion batteries. Now, that one actually hurts the EV auto manufacturers because most of the batteries come from China.
Mm-hmm.
They say the duty rate for the batteries, now lithium-ion batteries, will increase from 7.5 to 25%. Now, what may offset that is lower cost in mining, reduction in the cost of batteries, and hopefully that tariff won't have too large an impact.
Hopefully not. The batteries are where the impact is at. The overall estimate on the tariffs is that it's going to have somewhere around $18 billion, of which I think it says in here over $13 billion is in the lithium-ion batteries and not the cars, because there just are almost no Chinese cars being sold here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Not yet, yes. And of course, there's always some commentary, like what we're getting here on the screen. But one of the ones that came through Facebook after this got posted on our site, the comment is, slowing down the inexpensive electrification of automobiles is bonkers. If China wants to help subsidize that, why not let them? Versus handing a lifeline to laggard combustion car builders. Interesting viewpoint.
It is an interesting viewpoint. I'm not thrilled with the idea that China is doing what has been widely deemed in the U.S. to be unethical. You sell something below cost in order to capture the market share. And then once all the competition dries up or goes out of business, you raise your costs and recoup your profits tenfold. That's the definition of monopolistic practices here in the U.S. But to the guy's point, we kind of have the opposite problem going right now too. The automakers seem to not care about trying to produce a good quality, low cost electric vehicle to really help speed along the adoption,
Right.
except for Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so I understand his point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've seen some vehicles try to come through that are lower cost and or longer range. I think of that Terra. I think of the electromechanical Solo. So the efforts have been there, but they haven't been accepted by the mainstream yet.
And then, of course, you have the whole potential the NAFTA upheaval, which may just kill the Tesla factory being built in Monterrey, Mexico. You know, it would seem to me that with a 100% tariff, a manufacturer in China might be highly motivated to relocate some manufacturing capability within the NAFTA zones.
Right.
And if that were to happen, how does Tesla then, would they be allowed to bring cars into the country from a NAFTA zone, which of course is exactly what Monterrey, Mexico is all about?
Yeah, and it's that's a really legitimate question. And then we have the discovery this year of all these rare earth materials in Wyoming, some 2.5 billion tons potentially worth of rare earth materials that could largely take away China's dominance in the industry, if it gets developed or when it gets developed. So, but that's a few years away, and the tariffs are going to be occurring in a couple of weeks.
Right. All right. Instagram, J Higgins 623. EVs would be more mainstream if the level 3 charging was more readily available. The level 3 charging locations are lacking. Interesting.
I can't disagree with that. Most people drive their EVs to and from work on a daily basis, and most people have the charging infrastructure at their home in order to do that. People that live in multifamily housing, apartments, townhomes, stuff like that, are the ones that don't have that charging infrastructure and have to rely on public infrastructure. And the public infrastructure is they're struggling to keep up. So I get it.
Nolvers 53 is joining us from YouTube. Welcome back. He says, good morning. Is there any merit to the reports of Cybertrucks losing control of steering? There was just such a report on our local news. Great show as always. Have a blessed day. Thank you for joining us. I have heard nothing about the steer-by-wire, Cybertruck failure or failures. That will be one that we'll have to track and report on.
Yeah, we'll check on that. Like you, Pete, I haven't heard myself anything about that. Doesn't mean that the rumors are not out.
Mm-hmm. One of my sons is in the EV accident review business, basically, and it's fascinating to hear some of the stories about failures that have been attributed to something mechanical or a fault in the vehicle, when in fact it was driver error. The one that's most notable to me was there is confusion sometimes about the stalks on the steering columns, and there was a report of one of the EV brands losing power while on the freeway. Well, it turns out that every one of those happened when it started to rain, and they picked the wrong stalk, which was the drive, neutral, reverse stalk instead of the wiper stalk.
Okay.
And of course, once you're in neutral, you've lost power. All right. Instagram, J Higgins 623 says EV tax like California is going to kill EVs. They want everyone to switch to electric, but now they complain that they're losing the gas tax. Oh, that could be a big one. The state has never completely been solvent, it seems, with all of the programs that they have.
Well, it really seems. And now, do you know what Governor Newsom in California is proposing?
No.
He's proposing an odometer tax, basically. In other words, the more you drive, the more you get.
Oh, it's horrible.
And because the EVs have the ability to talk to their mothership,
right,
the government wants to insert themselves into the car makers like Tesla and read the odometer and just send you the tax bill.
Jesse just took me through an exercise yesterday, and it was humorous as hell. He says, you get taxed, your payroll gets taxed, and then you get, your paycheck. Then when you go to buy something, you get taxed. And he began to unravel all of the places that you get taxed. And it was mind blowing when you really think about, all of the taxation that takes place.
Oh, it really is, and it's 7.5% payroll, as much as 9% for sales tax. Income tax ends up being about 10 to 15%. Boom, there's 30% right there.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
And then when you die, finally, there's all kinds of tax there too.
Oh yeah,
Probate tax, property tax. Yeah,
your 50% estate tax, and
yeah.
yeah.
So we're having fun. Instagram, EV Smoke, ATX says, ATX showing EV love. Thank you. What y'all think of that dude destroying the Cybertruck video? Jake AZ. Are we talking about the
Talking about Whistling Diesel did a video.
Oh, see, I'm unaware of that. I thought he was talking about the Silicon Valley guy that keeps throwing bricks and rocks and
Oh, there's that guy too. Yeah,
hatchets and
John's throwing stuff at his truck all the time. But no, Whistling Diesel, his videos, millions and millions of views. A bunch of clips went viral online because he drove it off of these concrete barriers and smashed the back end of it so bad that the entire rear frame and bumper cracked and ripped off.
Ooh.
And he was trying to kind of position it as it was a design issue with the Cybertruck, so that was kind of going viral.
Ooh.
It'll go viral, yes. But of course, it has no basis.
Now, he also jumped it like 10 feet in the air off a massive jump, just to see. He did all this stuff too with a Ford F-150, and it was much more durable than the Ford F-150, but there was a moment at the end of the video where they strapped explosives to the door and tried to blow a hole in it, and it was crazy. It was a crazy video.
I would love to be a fly on the wall during the Tesla review of any of this and have the legal team starts looking for disclaimers to put into the purchase agreements, and I think the risk management team probably went into overdrive when they heard about that.
I mean, the first thing they're going to say is, hey, you've voided your manufacturer's workmanship warranty here.
Right. All right. So then we've got a picture to throw up here. Jesse, it's called Slime. And this is a real problem with the Tesla large screen vehicles like the Model S for especially. And where we live in the Southwest here, when temps get into triple digits, there's a plasma fluid that sits behind the touch screen. And, in moderate climates, I haven't heard people have problems with this, but here, this stuff must like boil inside there, creates pressure, and then eventually leaks and it oozes out and it drips down onto your console. There's another picture here, Jesse. It's called Screen. And a telltale sign that you've got a problem is there's suddenly a strange line in your screen.
Yes.
And it's not going to be straight or perpendicular. And here you can see on the left, there's a huge dip there. And then it goes across the top and then some more on the right. I don't know if that's as visible for our audience. What that means is there's an absence of plasma fluid that has now exited or dripped down. And a fix for this is to take it to Tesla, get the screen replaced, or get your MCU updated to the latest version. However, the slime remains. I know my wife had some leather gloves that she loved, very thin and
Oh yes.
And with women, it's a certain color that goes with a certain outfit and, all of that. Well, some of that slime got on her gloves and she was mad at Tesla for at least months, How you can clean this, however, is isopropyl alcohol, 99% if you can find it, and it takes it right off. And so it is a real problem in the type of zones that we live in, extremely triple-digit warm type climates. But isopropyl alcohol will clean it up for you. And once it's the fluid has evacuated from the screen, you can change it, or if you can live with it, it's not going to affect functionality.
Right. It doesn't affect the touchscreen functionality. It does make if you get a sunlight reflection on going through the screen, it will reflect a little bit more without the plasma behind it than it does with. I've had that experience before. For those people that are in the Southwest, if you have the ability to turn on the cabin AC, it helps keep the cabin a little bit cooler and greatly reduces the amount of leakage that you get because the plasma doesn't have that chance to heat up to 150 degrees or more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it looks like EV Smoke ATX agrees, he says, and we were talking about the risk management team getting together at Tesla after this Cybertruck owner decided to take it through some paces that it wasn't really designed to do. He says, yes, big meetings were had from Tesla afterwards, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Before we go, I want to talk a little bit about Lucid because they dropped their earnings yesterday.
Okay.
Now, Lucid... we'll start with the good news for Lucid owners. Their stock was up as much as 15% overnight, and it's still running a little bit higher. It was up to as high as $3.40, and right now it's running between $3 and $3.10. The reason? The investors liked what they saw, even though Lucid had an earnings miss. Wall Street estimates was that Lucid was going to lose about 27 cents per share, and they actually lost 34. However, for a car company at the stage that Lucid is at, where they've never been profitable, how much you earn or lose per share is far less important than sales numbers and sales growth numbers. Wall Street estimates had estimated sales growth up to about 185, 186 million, and Lucid came in with almost $200 million in actual sales revenue. So that excited people because it shows that there's continuing and growing demand for their cars. Lucid spent about $1.5 billion in cash in the first 6 months of this year, but not necessarily surprising to anybody. What was surprising and also excited investors was that the Saudi Arabian PIF fund, aka their sugar daddy, decided to chip in another $1.5 billion in investment. So that basically replaces the cash that they spent at the beginning of the year. Half of that is through capitalization, so it's a capital investment. Half of it is a convertible loan, meaning that it's not 100% they're going out and just buying stock in this case. And investors like that as well because that means it's not further diluting the shares. Right. Financial experts are saying. Market Watch financial experts are still pegging Lucid right now for about a $4 a share price. And they say that Lucid has enough cash to comfortably run to the end of 2025 now with this latest investment.
Excellent news. And, we have the Gravity that is evolving rapidly and scheduled for release later this year, from what I understand.
That's right. Did you see the video this last week? Peter Rawlinson was driving the first Gravity off the production line.
Yes, yeah, that was remarkable.
And that was pretty cool to see that he's, they've got their first prototype out there and ready to do testing. So now I happen to live in the southern edge of Phoenix, and I'm 40 miles or a little bit less from Casa Grande. I'm really hoping to see some Gravities on the road in the southern part of town. We saw some Lucids down there over the last couple of years, and I think some of them were out there for testing.
Fascinating. The real question is, will Lucid decide to give Marcus Brownlee one of these Gravities?
Good question.
What do you guys think?
About the Gravity? I'm going to buy one.
You're going to buy one? Oh, okay.
If I can afford it, but yes. I think this is the more affordable one. I think it's still in the 60s, though, but I want one.
Yeah, okay.
I've heard they're going to be between the 60s and mid-80s.
Yeah. Get a low base model. Actually, I'm actually thinking about the Tesla. Just a little side note for people in our audience. You have about 3 weeks left to get 1.99% financing if you buy a Tesla that by the end of August. Basically, they have this crazy promotion where it doesn't matter what your credit is, doesn't matter. I mean, there's like this weird promotion they're doing just to try and move as many of these things as they can, I think. So
It sounds like a South Phoenix car lot, doesn't it? Doesn't matter what your credit is.
It's crazy. It's a crazy deal, but you're not going to find that kind of interest rate, and you're doing it right through Tesla, not through like a loan company or anything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
YouTube Nullverse 53 says, I'd love to see the Cybertruck go back down to that $39,000 price tag at the reveal in 2019. Do we think that'll happen?
I don't think that'll happen. It's too popular of a truck.
Update. By the way, Richard, our old editor, who left us for greener pastures, he called me the other day and let me know his Cybertruck came up for purchase.
Oh, okay.
He waited 7 months on the wait list because he did it when he worked here back in January. I think he hopped on the wait list just for the heck of it. And it was like $100 or something. I don't know, but it said your Cybertruck is ready to order, and there's no time limit on it. So he's holding on to that thing for a while. He can't quite afford it yet, but apparently we thought it would be years before he would get his chance, right? So because there were supposedly 1 million reservations or whatever, but apparently you can get a Cybertruck within 7 months.
Are there still restrictions on flipping it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's built into their agreement where they will basically ban you from getting a Tesla again if you
Again.
Yeah.
Sounding a lot like Ferrari these days.
There are.
All right, so another headline here. Norway got its first ever wireless charging road. I know we've been reporting on this on and off, and in fact, my niece goes to the University of Innsbruck, and I think she's doing a term paper on this topic, wireless charging. So I gave her some advice last month, but a company named Electrion Wireless has launched a pilot program in Norway to charge electric vehicles while in motion. The 100-meter wireless charging road segment in Trondheim will be tested over the next year using electric buses from Chinese manufacturers Yutong and Higer. This innovative new technology aims to reduce carbon emissions by allowing the bus to operate continuously without stopping for charging. Of course, right now you've got 100 meters, so it's not quite continuously,
Well, no, and I was wondering on the 100 meters, I wonder, is it a bus stop? Is it we see in Phoenix, the buses will run and they'll pull off to the side of the road, and if they get ahead of schedule or something, they have scheduled places where they stop and pause on their routes. I'm wondering if this is at one of those pauses where maybe the bus takes a route around, pause for 30 minutes. While they're paused, they're getting a charge. They go take another loop.
Yeah, I think there's still some technology challenges associated with this because it is a proximity type charging system, and you have to transfer quite a bit of energy in order to make this feasible. But it's again exciting new technology. Like I told my niece, I said, think of the infrastructure costs in order to rip up roads and install these wireless. Basically coils in the road, and the fact that technology, battery technology, is improving almost at an exponential rate at this point. Remember, batteries have been around 200 years,
right?
And we didn't do much with lead acid until this heavy demand for DC storage in electric vehicles occurred. And suddenly we've got lithium ion, sodium ion, we've got graphene, we've got solid state batteries, and the technology is rapidly improving.
It sure is, and in fact, Lucid, as they were, they're making the news this week with all their stuff. Another thing that they're making the news about is the 5 miles per kilowatt battery. And they say they're very, very close to having that. And they might even have that in time for the Gravity to come out.
I'm all for it personally, because think of the absurdity of carrying over 1,000 pounds of batteries around as you travel. We're going to laugh at that, decades from now. And if you think about it, with wireless charging down below and solar up on top, you should be able to achieve enough energy scavenging in order to do transportation. And then if you really go way out on a limb like Jesse typically does, you put a fusion reactor into a vehicle and you don't need any. Oh, here comes Jesse.
That's
I
right.
knew he was coming.
It's on its way.
So yeah, this I think this wireless charging definitely needs to be pursued. I'm not sure that you're going to see it in your neighborhood anytime soon. This particular project, though, in Norway, is supported by the Norwegian government. It will also test the system's resilience and effectiveness in severe winter conditions. Because remember, those guys, they're in the Four Seasons area.
That's right.
So far, the total cost estimate is 22.4 million Norwegian kroner. I have no idea how much that is, but it seems like a lot of money because it's got a million in it somewhere.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think to close us out will be R.C. Robinson's son is joining us on YouTube. Says a Porsche Taycan supposedly recently did 270 kilowatts wirelessly.
Very cool.
That's very cool. So that the technology is going somewhere. Look forward to seeing the developments.
So, for those of you interested, in about 25 minutes here, we're going to continue with the Tesla Roadster podcast, which is fairly Roadster specific. Today's topic is going to be an article that was published by Haggerty, finally recognizing that there may be a Tesla Roadster glut, too many for sale, basically.
Okay. Look forward to that, and hope everybody takes care. We'll see you in a half hour.
Pete Gruber, join us next week for the Gruber Morning Show.